I think that when I say dig down, I still have a feeling that there's a Betty who lives behind my eyes that taps into all of those women that I ever was. And I think I have been many, many women in the decades that I've been given.
A butterfly came circling my head.
I'm Betty Reid Soskin, and I grew up in California, where we arrived when I was 6 years old from New Orleans, Louisiana, as a result of the Great Flood of 1927. I'm 88 years old. I think it may be important to listen to yourself. I wish I had listened earlier. But maybe because I didn't, I arrived at midlife with my curiosity intact. And I think that has served me more than anything. It's the questions. It's not the answers. One of the experiences in high school, I think I remember the bittersweet. As an elective, I did a drama class. I loved drama. I was reading for the part of Mary Omni with Eddie. And the day that we were to read our parts, I remember being absolutely dumbfounded because the class was just pinned to their seats by our reading. The teacher, I remember her flushed face. She said, "We know, Betty, that you really read that well, and that you really, really deserve that part. But you do understand that some parents would not really, take lightly with that you'd be paired with Eddie because you're colored." And I thought, oh, of course. How could I have thought otherwise? But I dropped out of that drama class, and I joined Mr. McLaughlin's public speaking class as my elective. Little did I know that I would wind up life giving talks. Well, little did I know that, 60 years later, I would be invited to read one of the parts in Eve Ensler's Vagina Monologues. I think that because I am open about my experience, and I don't pretend to be a historian, I am sharing my background. I think that encourages others to tell their stories, and that's been my experience. And it was easy for me to see that what had been originally planned to be a tribute to the working women of World War II, who had been emancipated by the call for arms for home front workers. Sites throughout the city had been declared a part of this park, scattered sites. But I knew them from memory to be sites of segregation. It began to dawn on me that we were in danger of setting up as sites for reverence of history that were really had a negative story to tell. And that it was very, very important that we needed to tell those complicated stories that were often in conflict if this park was to have any meaning at all. I'm now a ranger who gets the full support of the National Park Service to resurrect those stories and to re-examine that history. And I'm just thrilled. I discovered genealogy when I guess it was in the 90s. I started originally by putting in the names. And voila, it came back. People began to, just send me all kinds of material. One bro, Clarence Bro in Louisiana, sent 26 generations of my family, of our family. But there was a frustration in that I could not follow the women throughout those centuries because their names change and because they had family histories have to go through the mail because their women get lost. I decided in September of 2003 that my family was going to know about me when I am gone. And that the only way they could know about me is if I would keep this journal online. And now it's 7 years later, and I'm still blogging. And I just, originally it was, dealing with the past, if you follow the archives, and then it began to be current events, and then it become the way I process life as it goes by. The National Women's History Project was the first in the series of tributes. And I remembered my mother's grandmother, who had been a slave, who was born in 1846 and died in 1948 at the age of 102, and that I had been 27 when my slave ancestor died, so that I was a grown woman having met my slave ancestor. She was enslaved from the time from her birth till she was 19. So there is a humility and there's a pride in being able to accept those honors bestowed in the names of my great-grandmother and my mother and my grandfather and myself, because there is no greater American story.
To each of me, to love within the reach of me. And if this love could teach to me why each of me in turn must torture so the soul of me and tear apart the whole of me. Within life's play each role of me must speak to me, must learn that blackness and the white of me are just the day and night of me, are not the wrong or right of me. Can't you see there's got to be some answer to this planet's pain? My microcosmic world insane. If only I could make you see it's here to see. Just look at me. There is within me all of you, from distant lands, the whole of you, the dreams, the heart, the soul of you. If you would only see